Well, folks, this is what we're dealing with today. So I bought some Costco chicken yesterday. I had a drum and a thigh, so one leg out of it. And now I'm going to show you what I do with the rest of it. The first step is making some broth. And then we're going to get into using the broth that I'm going to make from this to make some delicious chicken asopao, or as we call it in Puerto Rico, asopao de pollo. And it is a staple Puerto Rican dish. It's more like a risotto consistency, but it's delicious. Some of the ingredients that you're going to need: a couple packets of these. They're hard to find here, but you can find them in Latin stores. Sometimes Superstore carries them. I know I've seen Adobo at Pete's Frutique, but then we got some oregano. We use about a half a cup of tomato sauce, and I put some pepper in, and some garlic powder. And the secret ingredient is these Sofrito cubes. Sofrito is the base of most Puerto Rican dishes. And what these are, and I'll do a video later, I've already made a batch, but I'll do a video that explains how to make them. What I do is I make it in bulk, and I freeze them in ice cube trays, and then I put them in a Ziploc bag or vacuum seal. But these are packed with deliciousness. It's got garlic, onion, red pepper, green pepper, cilantro, onion. It's just delicious. So we're going to start right now with getting that meat off the chicken. You don't need to see that. It's pretty straightforward. And then what I'm going to do is save the meat, and then I'll show you what I do with the carcass. Signing off. Okay, folks, so I've stripped down the chicken. There's the meat that's left over. If we go over to the Instant Pot, there's the carcass in the Instant Pot, ready to go. But if we look over here, you know, people would tend to throw that away, but we're making broth. So what you want to do is you want to take all the gelatin that's left over. That's going to be good flavor for the broth. So put that in, rinse it with some hot water, and also give the bag or container a rinse too with hot water and dump that out. Well, I see in this one there's none stuck on the bottom, so we're all good. So what I'm going to do is I'll be back in a second. You won't notice this. It'll be, here, I'll try this. Oh, my hands are all greasy. The magic of photography. And there we are with the magic. It's all gone. And look, plate's cleaned. We put everything in here. Now all we need to do is add some water. And as you can see, that's not quite enough. So what I want to do is bring it up, not quite to the full line, but just almost up to the max, but not quite. You'll see when I put some more in. Here we are back again. Just like magic, it's filled up. And again, you can see it's not quite up to the max. And don't worry about if you think that's too much water, no other flavorings going in, because trust me when I say these flavor bombs are gonna, and plus the garlic, the oregano, tomato sauce, the adobo, you're gonna have lots of flavor. And I will say in Puerto Rico, and I've done it too, oftentimes it's done in a caldero, and you cook the chicken with the water so it makes the broth at the same time. I just find this is quick and easy, and there's really not that much difference. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set it to 45 minutes on a high pressure. Seal it up, press start, and I'll be back when it's done. Okay folks, so while the pressure cooker is going, we're going to do a couple things. And again, it's something that you don't need to watch me doing. Everybody knows how to cut up chicken. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut up the chicken, and trust me when I say, and my family knows this, whenever I cook, I wash my hands like 20 times. So everything I do or touch afterwards, I'm washing my hands and drying them off so they are clean. But I'm going to chop this all up. And there's one ingredient that I forgot. It's arroz con pollo, and arroz is rice. So I forgot the rice. Again, forgive me, I'm new to this, so I'm just trying to share the recipes that I make and enjoy. And this is my favorite meal from my homeland. And whenever I go to Florida, I bring back boxes of these seasoning packets, the Goya Sazon. It's just this is another key. The Sofrito. These are easy to make. And one thing I want to tell you about Sofrito as well, before I pause this so I can start chopping that up, is that if you look on the web, you're going to find all kinds of different methods of making it and different ingredients. Some people put tomatoes in it. Some people put hot peppers in it. I put hot peppers in sometimes. It just depends on what your preferences are. I find the flavor combinations that remind me of home, for me when I was a boy, are the cilantro, the onion, the garlic, and the sweet peppers. And then when you top it off with this and this, and you get those Caribbean flavors, it's delicious. It doesn't matter that the chicken's already cooked. When I usually make this on the stove top, it's with bone-in chicken, and it cooks along with it. It takes longer, and it's a big production. You're getting all hot around the stove, stirring. Once this is done, you're going to see how fast it is, because I'm going to do it in the Instant Pot. About the rice, this is Puerto Rican rice that I got in Florida. It's medium grain, and it's called Rico is the brand. I always bring back a big supply whenever I go there. But if you can't, if you can't, you're not going to find it here. A good substitute is, or I don't know how to pronounce it right. It's arborio, I believe it's called. But that works just as well and tastes just as well. Long grain rice, if you like it, you can use it. But I don't like chunky rice. I like my rice soft. But you're going to be happy to see how quick it is once that broth is done. Stay tuned, and we'll be right back. And folks, just like magic, everything's chopped up. You'll notice that I left some chicken here that looks a little bit pink and undercooked. You'll find that sometimes on rotisserie chicken. I put it aside. I'm not going to throw it away. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cook it along with everything else. This doesn't need to be cooked and put in. I can add that later because the chicken's already cooked. And trust me, there's already going to be enough flavor. This is going to mix in well. There's no point in putting it in while it's cooking because it's just going to dry it out. So, but what I will do is put that in. It'll add additional juices to it, plus it'll finish cooking it in the Instant Pot. So the next step I'm going to do while the broth is being made is I'm going to take these, I'm going to put them in there, and I'm just going to nuke them so that they're a sauce consistency. Because what we're going to want to do after we clean out the broth is simmer the sofrito along with all the spices, and then start adding the ingredients. I like to cook up the sofrito for about 5 or 6 minutes just to get the flavor going. So, and then I'm going to measure off also a cup and a half of this rice. So we'll be back through the magic of video photography. Video photography magic again, folks. Excuse the messiness, but I don't care. I'm not Gordon Ramsay, and I'm not serving this to a customer. So I didn't go around and clean it off for any comments. And I've also measured off my my liquids that I'm going to be using here, the tomato soup. And what I'm going to do with that is I'm going to put it in a freezer bag, make sure all the air is out of it, and use that for the next time I make it. So my next step is I'm going to get all the seasonings ready so I don't have to dump. What I will tell you is that I don't measure. So what I'll do is I'll give you approximates, but I use 2 packets of the Sazon. I use probably about a tablespoon of this, the Adobo. And I'll put a couple shakes of garlic powder in because I've already got garlic in the Sofrito. And I'll put about a tablespoon of oregano in. And I will tell you that if I want to add more liquid, what I will usually do is I will grab some of this and just mix it with some hot water. You don't have to in the Instant Pot, and throw that in. But if you're going to add more liquid, make sure you put some stock in it as well. So again, next step is waiting for that pressure to come to 40 finish. Then I'm going to let it naturally release for about 5 minutes. Then it'll be 50 minutes total. Then I'm going to strain it to come up with the broth. I'm sure everybody knows how to strain chicken. Just dump it out through a strainer, keep it in a bowl. And then we're going to put everything in the pot, and I'll be back when we're ready to start. Signing off. Okay, folks, through the magic of photography, here it is. It's already done. So as I said before, you don't need to see me strain it, but this would cook for 45 minutes. I'll let it naturally release for 5. Now I'm going to strain it, get rid of all those bones, and that's the juice that we're going to use for the asopao. I'll be back through the magic of photography. Okay, folks, we're here. I've got an assistant helping me, and then I'll take over, but I just want to show you what I'm going to do. There's the strained broth that I have here. Here's the sofrito that I'm going to dump in here. Don't worry about cleaning your Instant Pot because it's still got the chicken. You're using the same thing on it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dump all the spices in that I showed you before that I have all mixed up right here. And then I'm going to let that season for 5 minutes. You don't need to sit and stir it. Make sure that it doesn't stick to the bottom of the pan. You don't need to see me do that. Then I'll come back to you and show you the next steps, which is to dump the rice in and then dump some stock in. We'll talk to you in the next video. Okay, we're back, folks. I just wanted to show you what I'm doing here. I have it on saute mode, and I'm just going to mix all the spices together, and then I'm going to simmer that on high heat for about 2 or 3 minutes. That's all. So you don't need to see me sitting here and stirring it, but you want to make sure that it's stirred. You don't want anything sticking to the bottom of the pan. Otherwise, you're going to get the dreaded burn notice. So I'm just going to go ahead and stir. Sorry for my finger being in the way. And then I'll be back to you. The next thing I'm going to do is add the rice after that. And then the tomato sauce, and then the rice before I start putting the broth in. Hey, folks. It's been about, I'd say about 3 minutes. And I wanted to say one more thing. Don't wait for it to come to high heat before you put it in. Put it in, put it on saute, and then just keep stirring it. Once it starts to get like this, then add the tomato sauce in. That's going to cool it down a little bit. And then start incorporating that into the mix. And then let it come back up, so it's going to start heating up again. The reason why I'm sauteing this, because people might be thinking, well, it's an Instant Pot. I thought you could just dump everything in. Remember, I'm trying to adapt this recipe from doing it in a caldero. And I apologize if I'm pronouncing it wrong. It's been a while. I actually forgot most of my Spanish, but I still know poquito. And I'll say this is going to be very, very delicious. You should smell my kitchen right now. So now that it's coming back up again, what I'm going to do, just film that. We're going to take this rice that I had strained, and we're going to dump that in, because I want that flavor to get into the rice. And then I'm just going to mix that all together. And then remember those chicken pieces that were a little bit undercooked? Sorry for that. We're going to put those in there, stir them in. And now we're ready to add the broth. What I'll do, you don't need to see me doing that. I think everybody knows how to pour. So what I'm going to do is pour till I'm about up to the same mark that I was before. So stay tuned. Here we are. We're back, folks. So I put the liquid in, and I put it up to the first mark there. I've stirred it. It's already hot because we made the broth just about 10 minutes ago. So what I'm going to do now, I will close the lid. I'm going to stir it up one more time, take it off saute, and I'll be right back to show you the temp setting. So we have the lid on, folks. We have it in the sealing position, and we have the timer set to 20 minutes. We're going to press start. It's on high pressure, and we're going to let that cook. It's only 20 minutes because remember the chicken's already cooked, and we're going to add that in afterwards. So stay tuned for the next steps. We'll be right back with the magic of photography, and we're going to slowly go across. There's the broth all gone. I didn't use quite all of it, but we'll be back shortly. Okay, folks, we are back, and if you look, it's done. You can see how much the rice has absorbed in the liquid. You can see it floating up there. And there's one other thing I want to tell you. I always save a little teeny bit of the broth that's left over so that I can put the chicken that I'm going to add into the broth, just like that. But that way it keeps the chicken nice and juicy. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go like that, and I'm going to dump it into the Instant Pot and give it a stir, and I'll be right back. And folks, we are back. This is after I have not stirred this yet. This is after I have added the chicken broth, or the cut up chicken that was soaked, and I used a slotted spoon. Excuse my hands, I'm going to try to do this delicately. But remember I said it was like a risotto. It's not really, and this is going to thicken up more, but this is the consistency of it. It's a thick soup. Just stir all the chicken in, make sure that there's nothing stuck to the bottom. But this, as it cools, it will thicken more. So I'm going to scoop some of this into a bowl so that we can do a taste test. As you can see, that is piping hot. So I'm going to stop this, unless you want to sit here and wait for about 5 minutes or so, and then I'll come back. I know you don't want to. I'm sensitive of the time. I'll be right back. That's what we're dealing with, folks, and we're going in for a taste test right now. It's had sufficient time to cool off. And I just want to add one more thing. You might have noticed, people might be thinking, where's the salt? Most of the ingredients that I put in, like the adobo and the Sazon seasonings, they all have salt in them. So I use salt when I'm cooking, but if I'm already using ingredients that have salt, I don't put more in because I can adjust it to taste. If I find that it's not salty enough, I'll put more in. And you can do the same. But here goes. It's good. Jamie, signing off.